Here we go. Let's talk some 49ers football. You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Sr., and as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. What we're getting into here, Niners and the Raiders just got off the practice field in Las Vegas, so we are doing a joint practice reaction. And the Raiders, now at that new stadium in Las Vegas, Allegiant, that's where the Niners unfortunately lost Super Bowl 58. They have that beautiful facility there, and their practice facility is also gorgeous. Really nice grass surface, and it was a hot one here today. By the time that the Niners got off the practice field, it was hovering around 100 degrees. The high today in Vegas, 107. And so by design, it was a very early practice for San Francisco and Las Vegas. Kyle Shanahan and Pete Carroll, they know each other very, very well. They've had a lot of epic battles inside the NFC West when Carroll was the head coach of Seattle. Shanahan, of course, the head coach of the 49ers. So they know each other as far as their coaching tendencies, their coaching practices, how they go about game planning. They're both very good tacticians. Kyle Shanahan, offensive mind. Pete Carroll, offensive mind. And so it was good to see them clash once again in between the lines today. And then that will lead into the second preseason affair Saturday at Allegiant Stadium for San Francisco and Las Vegas. Before we dive into all of my joint practice takeaways, the Niners today making a couple of roster moves. So offensive tackle Andre Dillard has been placed on injured reserve. Defensive tackle Michael Dwumfour has been released. And the Niners currently are so thin along the defensive line. They just need bodies there, kind of like what's happened at the wide receiver position all throughout camp in the preseason. And so the Niners officially signing defensive lineman William Bradley King and also defensive lineman Demone Harris. And speaking of Andre Dillard, the backup offensive tackle position and the swing tackle spot for San Francisco is a huge problem. The Niners signed the former first-round pick in Andre Dillard to be their top backup offensive tackle this year. He missed the start of training camp due to an injury. The Niners activated him off the non-football injury list earlier this week. So much for that. Didn't even practice for San Francisco, and now he gets placed on IR. He's been dealing with like a foot and ankle injury all throughout this offseason. He got a surgery. He played last year with Green Bay. Prior to that with Tennessee, after he got a bag, he was awful. Former first-round pick for the Philadelphia Eagles, whose career was very up and down. To start his career, first-round pick out of Washington State, where he played under Mike Leach, and the Eagles had drafted him to most likely be a future Lane Johnson replacement because Lane Johnson at that time was dealing with a bunch of ankle issues, and Dillard was slow to develop. Then he was dealing with a lot of issues as far as his confidence, had some injuries here and there. Once he found his footing, played well, was going to be the starter at left tackle because he couldn't play right tackle, tore his biceps, came back, played well, got that bag from Tennessee, and was awful. But I was looking forward to seeing how the Niners could maybe maximize a player who is very physically gifted, who was taken in the first round, but now he's gone for the year. And so the backup offensive tackle spots in the hands of Spencer Burford and Austin Pleasants. I think Spencer Burford is too slow to play left tackle. We especially saw that in the preseason opener against Denver when Nick Bonito ate his lunch, and Austin Pleasants isn't strong enough or fast enough to be a quality backup tackle. So if Trent Williams or Colton McKivitz were to go down this year, it could get very precarious and hairy for San Francisco at those offensive tackle spots. Now, a good sign for the Niners along the offensive line is that 7th-round pick Connor Colby has been getting run with the ones. Today, he mixed in with the first-team offense at left guard. Kyle Shanahan, very impressed with what he's been able to do, saying, quote, he's getting better each week. He's improved a lot the last couple of weeks. I saw he had a high Pro Football Focus grade against the Broncos, and I don't think it was too far off. He's played very well. So it's good that Colby is coming along well. At Iowa, 50 starts. He played left guard, right guard, and offensive tackle. His relative athletic score hovered around 9.8. He can really move. He's a very good zone blocker, probably a better pass blocker as of right now. And yeah, against Denver, he played well. So I like the way that that's trending, and maybe he could be the future left guard for San Francisco at a very affordable price. He's number 75 here. Number 55 is the UDFA out of Colorado State, Drew Moss, who, behind Connor Colby, who had the highest PFF grade among the offensive players on Saturday, had the second highest offensive grade. He, too, is coming along pretty well. He has some positional versatility. At Colorado State, played tackle. At the NFL level, he's going to play along the interior. He's making some strides at either guard, maybe center, so that's good. But unfortunately, it does not solve the question marks that San Francisco has at offensive tackle. As for some more injury news here for the Niners, Nick Bosa did not participate in the joint practice today due to back soreness. And because of that, as we're about to discuss, this Niners defensive line really struggled to penetrate against a bad Raiders offensive line. And they weren't good against the run, and Ashton Genty, they couldn't really generate pressure on Geno Smith or any of the Raiders quarterbacks either. And coming up just around the corner, we're going to start to dive deeper into my joint practice reaction. What transpired today in Las Vegas? It's coming up just around the corner, but make sure you sub for Niners Dubs. Hit that subscribe button for daily and year-round Niners coverage right here on the show. I think that what we do here is very special. I always want our content to be informative, insightful, thought-provoking, entertaining. I want you to have a voice, and I think people like that as well, which is why 164,446 people have subscribed to the show. Some offensive takeaways for the Niners here today. Brock Purdy had a lot of success throwing the ball downfield. And something that I think we're going to see in 2025, especially early on, this Niners offense is going to have to carry the load. You have one of the best play callers and play designers in Kyle Shanahan at head coach. You have a quarterback who you just gave $55 million to. You have Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, George Kittle. You used a first-round pick on Ricky Pearsall. And so they're going to have to help to keep this team in a spot where they can keep their heads above water, because on defense for the Niners, there's going to be a learning curve. A lot of young players are going to get significant snaps on the defensive side of the ball. And so it could get a little bit rocky, given we have to see a lot of player development, and Robert Saleh is going to try to figure out which players he wants to play on the defensive side of the ball. So while it could get a little bit sketchy there early on, this Niners offense has to produce. And they were the second most injured offense in the NFL last year. Despite that, the fourth best total offense in the NFL. Imagine what they can do if they can stay healthy. And so to find success throwing the ball downfield against a Raiders team that is going to hang its hat on defense because Pete Carroll is a defensive coach, that's a good sign. George Kittle saying after practice that on tape, what the Raiders are doing, very similar to the Legion of Boom days. Now, toward the end of Pete Carroll's tenure with Seattle, they struggled on defense, but it's been proven to be an effective defense. And against that Pete Carroll-led defense today, the Niners had some splash plays. Brock Purdy's deep ball really all throughout training camp has been on point. And I think this Niners offense this year could be a little bit faster, which could help Purdy, who has been statistically one of the top deep ball throwers in the NFL since he got drafted in 2022. Another positive development here, Ricky Pearsall continues to ball. He has had a dominant training camp. He's very specific about his game. He is a student of the game, and his health is the only thing that can hold him back. I think that if he could stay healthy this year, given the connection that he's had with Purdy, the game that he has, how Kyle Shanahan with his play designs is going to be able to cater towards Pearsall's strengths, I think that he can have a really good year. He caught a deep ball from Purdy here today. Also, the Purdy-Kittle connection has been alive all throughout camp. And I think with the trade of Deebo Samuel, having question marks at wide receiver, that makes Kittle's presence more important this year. And I want to emphasize that because I think Kittle becomes more a part and more of a component of this pass game. And since Purdy has come in, Kittle's numbers have been incredible. That's why he's been an All-Pro each of the last 2 years. Also today, Christian McCaffrey was involved a lot running it and catching the ball out of the backfield. He continues to look more so like the Offensive Player of the Year that we saw in 2023 physically. Jeff Wilson, who was with this team from 2018 to 2022, who's traded away. Once Christian McCaffrey got acquired to the Miami Dolphins, he got some running the ball for this Niners offense today. Tariq Owens had a nice one-on-one win where he was able to beat his DB, and he continues to develop. Probably more of a practice squad candidate, but an intriguing practice squad candidate. His pops, Terrell Owens, one of the top 5 wide receivers of all time. Kyle Juszczyk caught a 20-yard touchdown pass from Brock Purdy, and we kind of expected this, right? The Niners really struggled to block Max Crosby. Max Crosby is one of the best defensive ends in all of football. A relentless pursuit, very physical. He is very fine-tuned with his pass rushing plan and his pass rushing arsenal. But this is also why I continue to voice my concerns with this Niners offensive line. Colton McKivitz may have improved from 2023 to 2024. Trent Williams didn't participate in the joint practice today. Veteran maintenance day for him. But when Colton McKivitz especially, or this Niners offensive line, has to go up against a good defensive line and or great players, that's when they really struggle. Another takeaway from this joint practice today, you knew it was going to get chippy. Max Crosby on a podcast even said, when we meet up with the Niners, I'm looking forward to that. There could be some fights. The Raiders tried to start some fights. The Niners did not swing back. Anytime these two teams meet, it gets hostile. It gets intense because this has been one of the best, most heated rivalries in the history of the NFL, because when it was Oakland against San Francisco, those two areas didn't like one another. Those two teams didn't like one another, and that led to a very physical matchup. This is a matchup that I wish we saw every single year, because it would make for a lot of drama, a lot of theater, and frankly, I think a lot of good football, because you can throw the records out of the window when the Niners and the Raiders meet up in between the lines. You know what type of game it's going to be, and that's a knock 'em out, drag 'em out, bloody knuckles type of affair. And I wish the NFL could do something where these two teams would meet every single regular season, because they do play every single preseason. All right, we'll talk some Niners defense coming up here in just a moment, but I want to tell you about this deal thanks to our fine friends at Fanatics. This Niners pull-off hoodie was $80. It is now on sale for just $48. You see the link down in the chat right now. Head to chatsports.com/Niners hoodie. Very rarely do you see a great product on sale discounted this much, from 80 down to 48. Chatsports.com/Niners hoodie. Use that link, and if you do use that link, that discount will apply. We talked some Niners defense here, and again, like offensively, it was kind of a mixed bag. Defensively, a little bit of a mixed bag. The Niners defensive line really struggled to stop the run and generate pressure on the quarterback. Context, obviously, is always really important. No Michael Williams. CJ West today, the rookie 4th-round pick out of Indiana, hyperextended his knee. Very similar injury to what happened to Michael last week. So you're without Michael Williams. You have no Nick Bosa. CJ West got hurt. You've suffered injuries along that defensive line. No Sam Okawanu, no Kevin Givens. And so you have a lot of players up front who are not going to make this 53-man roster. And because of that, this Niners defensive line didn't really show up today. But again, context very important. On the bright side, All-Pro Fred Warner looked amazing. He landed the biggest hit of practice, and the matchup of Fred Warner going up against Brock Bowers, that is elite versus elite. That is great versus great. And that's two of the best players at their respective positions going one-on-one. The Niners defense did give up a lot of big plays, whether it be via the ground game for Las Vegas or the pass game. So the offense for the Niners, a lot of big plays downfield. The defense also gave up a lot of big plays. And Ashton Genty, the 7th overall pick out of Boise State, really talented running back, did pop a nice long run. And let me just emphasize this again. Going into 2025, this 49ers offense is going to have to carry the load. It's a pretty experienced unit on that side of the ball, all things considered. Plus, you have one of the top offensive minds in football in Kyle Shanahan calling the plays and designing the offense. You just paid your quarterback $55 million. You have George Kittle, all-world tight end. Trent Williams, one of the top offensive tackles. Christian McCaffrey, one of the most dynamic players in all of football on offense. And so even with all of the injuries that the Niners suffered last year, number 2 most injured offense in football, they were still the 4th best total offense in the NFL. But then you look on defense. Yes, you bring back Robert Saleh. And in that preseason opener against Denver, I thought he was creative, aggressive, and exotic. But John Lynch even said it prior to the year. There's going to be some bumps along the road because San Francisco is so young on the defensive side of the ball. And so early on in the year, I don't expect this Niners defense to be as good as they are hopefully at the end of it. So in the meantime, as the Niners defense catches up, as they gather more experience, as Robert Saleh figures out who he wants to play there, it's the Niners offense that will have to produce for San Francisco, because I think getting off to a faster start, very paramount, especially when you have the easiest schedule in the NFL in 2025. Big picture, I do think this defense for the Niners could be legit. Yes, you still have Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and Deommodore Lenoir, but outside of that, it is a serious youth movement for the Niners on that side of the ball. Some more promising news here for San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan saying after the practice today that Brock Purdy and some of the starters are expected to play on Saturday against the Raiders. That just gives us some juice for a preseason game that sometimes doesn't have a lot of hype, but of course we'll be live for it right here on the 49ers Report. More news that I want to get to here. Kyle Shanahan said Christian McCaffrey moving just as fast as he was during 2023 training camp. CMC even hit 25 miles per hour on his GPS chip. Beyond that, Brock Purdy on Christian McCaffrey, mentally, he's on one right now. I can imagine Christian McCaffrey very motivated to flush what happened in 2024, where he played 4 games, bilateral Achilles tendonitis, had a knee issue, and then once he came back, he didn't look the same, and then he only played those 4 games and did not score a touchdown. Even though they are sidelined, Purdy says he asks Ayuk and Jawan Jennings what they see on certain routes after practice every day. Purdy saying, those are my guys. George Kittle knew that Max Crosby was going to try to get a little bit chippy. Jordan Watkins, high ankle sprain, no walking boot as he recovers from that injury. That's a good sign. Defensive back Upton Stout, watched practice, looked pretty good, walking without a limp. He has a calf injury. And then some other injury news. Jason Pinnock, Trey Brown, both have heel injuries. And so the Niners' first-team safeties, rookie Marquise Siegel, third-year player Jair Brown. For Bosa, it's neck soreness. Some people were saying it's back soreness, but to confirm that, it is neck soreness for him. Ben Bartch has an elbow injury. So again, it was Connor Colby, Nick Sakel rotating in. First-team left guard for San Francisco. And that kind of does it on the injury front. McCaffrey, Kittle looking ready for week 1, and that's a great sign for this Niners team. Don't forget to give me a follow on X and Instagram. I talk Niners every single day right here on YouTube. But I'm also always giving you additional free Niners content on X at Chase_Senior and Instagram at Chase_Senior. Millions of viewers per month here on YouTube, millions of people per month on social media as well.